Namaste. Let's go through a visualization exercise. Sit up straight, find a comfortable seat, and when you're ready, close the eyes. Imagine a warm golden liquid beginning to pour down over the crown of the head. See and feel this thick, viscous liquid washing over the scalp, dripping slowly down the face, ears, back of the head. Gather a sensation now of the entire head filled with this warm golden liquid. Feel it move down into the neck, softening as it goes, slowly seeping over the shoulders, down each of the arms and into the fingertips, dripping slowly off of each fingertip and then sinking into the chest, filling the whole chest and belly with warm golden liquid. Feel, see, sense this liquid pouring in to the pelvic bowl, allowing the pelvis to sink and relax. Warm golden liquid moving down each of the thighs, through the knees, low legs, feet, and into each toe. Feel it dripping slowly from each toe. The whole body filled now with warm golden liquid. Feel the sensation of warmth resting now see yourself sitting beneath the golden orb of sunshine, the whole body warm with its rays. And as you begin to get acquainted with the sensation of the sunshine on your skin, you sense its heat and feel every pore of the skin responding to that heat. Glistening in those rays of warm, healing light. And beneath you, the soft, cool sensation of Mother Earth, the welcoming soil, the grass and shrubs gently touching the skin, and the sweet sound of birds above and around you. Hear their song and let the vibration fill you with wonder. You slowly prepare to stand and greet the sun, rising slowly and consciously, standing firmly now on the earth, crown raised towards the heavens. Eyes on the horizon, you see a grove of trees. You feel the breeze on your soft skin. With curiosity piqued, you begin to walk towards the grove of trees. As you walk, you hear the birds, feel the warm sunshine and the sensitive touch of the wind. As you get closer to the trees, you smell the sweet, moist scent of the earth. Reaching the trees, you step between two tall trees, feeling the shadowy comfort of the canopy. You gaze up, seeing pockets of sky between towering trees. The contrast of the green and the blue, stunning. Looking back down, you continue onward and notice a path between a dense part of the forest. As you step onto this path, you hear the leaves crunching beneath your feet. The smell of the forest is stronger now in your nostrils. The shades of green, wonderful to the eyes. Continue walking down this path until you see a line of trees with a gate welcoming you with open arms. You walk over to the gate and notice its texture. You look down at the handle, Place your hand on it. Open the handle and press the door forward. Step inside to the most wondrous garden you've ever laid eyes on. Such an abundance of flowers, butterflies flitting from one flower to the next, and the scent of sweet, sweet roses, jasmine, looking at this garden in wonder and awe. You slowly begin to examine each flower, every color of the rainbow is there and more. As you begin to walk through the garden, the leaves of the flowers caress your legs. You bend down to touch the soft petals, to smell the flowers individually. As you continue walking through the garden, you notice there's a bench on the other side, right in the center of the garden. Slowly admiring the journey to get there, you begin to make your way to this bench. As you walk, you see more flowers, kinds you've never seen before, petals of all shapes and sizes, with their beautiful stems and bright green leaves. As you get closer, you notice it's a stone bench, and an old friend is sitting there, waiting for you. And as you get closer and closer, you can begin to make out their face and features. You can see what they're wearing. You sit down next to them, and they lean over and whisper something into your ear. Listen. After receiving the message, you gaze back up at the bright blue sky, knowing that it's time to leave. You thank them and begin to make your way slowly out of the garden, again taking notice of the bright colors, sweet smells, noticing the beautiful butterflies as they have their lunch. Continue walking towards the gate, placing your hand back on the gate and noticing the texture and what it's made of, and then bringing the hand down to the handle and pulling it open. Step through the gate, back onto the enchanting path through the trees, noticing the sweet smell and all the beautiful shades of green. Gazing up again to see the canopy, and finally out of the forest and back onto the grass. Walk back to your meditation spot and sit down. Feel the earth beneath you, the sky above, and when you're ready, slowly blink open the eyes. Let's open with an Om together. Deep inhale to begin. Namaste. We'll take a look at the Vijnanamaya Kosha, rapid visualizations portion of Yoga Nidra. So this is where we offer spontaneous images, and the practitioner is to create these images in the mind, and sometimes afterward there's a longer visualization. Like with today's meditation, there's a lot of space for creativity here, to spontaneously conjure visual forms without the senses or any external objects. These images serve to search the subconscious mind for any stored associations and mental impressions. So they purify the samskaras. The way the subconscious mind stores information is in images and archetypes. And so in the relaxed state of Yoga Nidra, we can clear these stored impressions in the subconscious mind without any emotional charge, like what would be present in the waking cortex part of the brain, the conscious waking state. And it's done without any emotional charge across all the layers of the psyche. This is a way to activate the left brain, and when we have the longer visualizations, it's training our awareness to be a witness to the natural mind processes and participate consciously in them. These visualizations increase our ability to choose our point of focus. And so on the conscious level, you're learning to spontaneously create and focus attention on creating. You're getting better by taking the image and practicing trataka, which is the technique of meditation where you're focusing the eyes on one object. So when the eyes start to get tired or watery or they want to blink or close, then you focus on that image. And so it's developing this ability of dharana, this ability to concentrate on the subconscious layer. The mind is purging, so it's cleaning the stored impressions, that personal data bank of your life and previous lives. And on the unconscious level, the potential to awaken symbols stored, um, and awaken to high truths, universal knowledge. So these images like the lotus or Om, the chakra yantras or light code symbols can be used to awaken the stored unconscious potential within all of us. So the characteristic of visualization is that it's the ability to create a mental picture. It's like seeing with the mind's eye or using our imagination, and it includes all forms of images, can be one object that is static or not moving, to an entire scene that's played out like a movie. So, the different ways of experiencing these images or visualizations could be memory images. So, reconstructed or resurrected images from past experience that may appear spontaneously or be summoned. They will vary in vividness. They're usually very controllable and connected to one or more of the senses. Imagination has no fixed reference point. So, imagination visualization tends to be very vividly colored and involve concentrated attention to create them. Imagination can be a very powerful creative force. Daydreams and fantasy could be a combination of images that come from memory and imagination. So you could daydream about the success or positive outcomes for future situations, for example. Hypnagogic images tend to be vivid, detached, and beyond the reach of the conscious control. So these images may be like a light flash or geometric forms, faces, or potentially whole scenes. They can be vivid enough to seem real, but generally you'll realize that they are an internal experience. So you can practice at night becoming aware of these images when you're drifting off to sleep, for example. They can be very useful in developing our inner journey and developing our awareness. Dreams have a very compelling sense of reality. These visual images work differently than rational or verbal thought. So there's less analysis and a greater sense of participation in the dream state than in other visualizations. They can help us discover what lies beyond our subconscious and unconscious mind. And so, the practice of conscious or lucid dreaming, where someone is aware that they're dreaming, can be incredibly useful, especially when you're able to manipulate the dream imagery and further grow awareness in real time during a dream state. Hallucinations are especially vivid, and the experiencer believes the image to be outside of themselves. Images received from visions are often the source of creative inspiration. And so learning to utilize the imageries of the inner world is a critical aspect of using the vast resources of our human self. Visuals, images, ideas create fire in the mind and manifest intention into physical form. Inner images lead to inner reality, which creates neuronal activity in the brain and releases a hormonal response. So these responses can set a tone and a directive force to attract the frequencies in our physical reality. Sometimes images are experienced with the other senses. So one might incorporate the sense of hearing, smelling, tasting, touch. And sometimes the image that is conjured has a purpose of releasing samskaras, as we mentioned in the previous slide. And so there's the potential here for co-creation using visualization. So if we can think ourselves into a stressful state, into the state of stress and dis-ease, then we can think ourselves into a state of wholeness and health. And so this is where these visualizations can become very powerful in healing and changing our waking reality. So images can guide our growth, our spiritual growth, and movement towards health and wholeness. So let's take a look at what's happening in the brain here. The occipital lobe is like our internal projector. So we get better with practice using this occipital lobe. It's our visual cortex and the place where we can see these images. This is the mental screen. And so sometimes we might be guided or guide our students into imagining that they are sitting in the center of their head, looking at a movie screen, and this occipital lobe then would be the projector creating the image. The frontal lobe, the occipital, and the temporal all work together during this creation of visualization. The visual cortex and pineal gland contribute to inner seeing. Of course, the pineal gland being the seat of our intuition, our third eye or Ajna chakra space. And the cerebellum holds space for our mental imagery. Things to remember while practicing in the Vijnanamaya kosha, the rapid visualizations and longer visualizations. The creation of images can be challenging for many people. Creativity may have been blocked at a young age or through subconscious programming, and it can take time to reopen this. And so you'll want to be determined and focused, steadfast, and not giving up in the practice if these visualizations do not come up so easily for you. Some images or associations could arise that seem unrelated. And remember, we just want to allow the images without repression or involvement. The energy will release when there is no involvement. You'll want to travel just as fast as the instructor is naming the items. So bouncing from one visual to the next. You'll imagine, feel, and see. And remember, no judgment or interference, because when there's no judgment, no involvement, that's when these stored impressions can easily be released. When guiding students into the Vijnanamaya kosha section, You'll first want to guide them to the eyebrow center, to Chitakasha. Chitta means mind space or mental space. Akasha means space. And so this is the space of dharana where you'll fixate attention on a psychic symbol and develop the ability to spontaneously create and fix attention here. And this, of course, helps with the meditation practice. So you'll cue your students to awaken, create, and visualize images in Chitakasha, in that mind space. This is where the roots of manifestation exist. Okay. You want the cues to be rapid so that the mind does not get diverted from the images and so that there is no analysis or story happening. So you're essentially probing the subconscious database to awaken these stored associations or mental impressions. Because remember, the language of the subconscious mind is imagery and archetypes. So some images might be associated with other images. For example, a tree might just be a tree for one person, while others, depending on their past experience, may have had a car accident or something else where the subconscious mind has taken a snapshot of some crime and stored it. So something simple can be encoded with a deep emotional charge. So this is the way to probe that subconscious experience. And you're moving fast enough to bypass the intellectual centers so that whatever's arising is allowed to arise. You're not interfering with it, but the energy is able to be released from the subconscious mind. Highly conditional images like cultural, religious, or social images could be stored in our individual or collective subconscious. And so it may not be our own personal bias, or we may not feel affected by it, but it's stored there and may be causing vrittis on the surface. You'll use about 10 to 15 visuals, and some of them may be repeated 3 times for emphasis and to give the practitioner a chance to really create a strong image within their mind. But again, you're just repeating this one very quickly. And so, about every 2 to 3 images, you can choose to pick a few to repeat 3 times. So there's a variety of images that can be used, from everyday familiar objects, which are easy to create, to natural landscapes like mountains, trees, rivers, elements associated with different elements of the psyche. So, for example, a river can represent being in flow, a tree can represent being deeply rooted, mountains are sturdy and stable. You may use imaginative images, animals with different colors or with polka dots. Animals themselves have messages and qualities that can serve to awaken the psyche. You may use archetypal patterns such as the mother, the child, father, warrior, old man, old woman, priest, or priestess. You may use sacred or symbolic symbols. So, for example, Om is a symbol that holds creation. The rishis in ancient India saw images and geometric shapes like the chakras and the yantras. And so, the subtle state of our awakening um, can happen externally when we have this internal connection to the storehouse of where the information lies. And this can be a key to accessing this inner consciousness. The images could relate to the specific group of people that you're working with. You can use cycles like the moon cycle, seasons, the rising and setting sun. Whatever we're doing, we're getting into stored impressions. So the images can be very diverse and they may not make sense to the intellect. For example, some of these psychic symbols may not make sense to the rational mind or the intellect, but they're affecting the deep recesses of the psyche. So when we're relaxed in Shavasana, whatever's being probed or touched, that energy is allowed to sort of bubble up to the surface and be released. And so what takes place is a cleansing of the deeper recesses of the mind, the storehouse we otherwise wouldn't have access to consciously. And so the symbolism can go very deep. There's many parts of the Bible that are encoded in symbolism. So 7, for example, could be talking about the energy symbols, like the chakras. In the Bible, it's mentioned 7 golden candlesticks, 7 churches, 7 veils. The Bible is like a manual for the rise in human consciousness, but it's encoded. And so it's talking about the body and meditation. For example, the temple with the door on the right side represents the right hemisphere of the brain. You can use Hindu gods that are holding something that has deeper meaning in the human psyche, holding information of our humanity on a universal level. And so we don't want to segregate where the student may be coming from culturally or geographically, socially, but these symbols can access what's connecting us on the human psyche level, the deep unconscious pool of information. So you may connect directly with the group that you're teaching, or if you want to sort of access their subconscious mind. But if you want to go even deeper, you can use such a variety of symbols. So you may use these more universal ideas if you're working with multiple groups. So some examples of specific groups, if you're working with people from India, there's the sacred cow, and that may connect. But for someone from North America, the cow may be something different, may mean something different to them. And so remember that energy can be released from a traumatic experience. So, for example, someone who had been experiencing asthma, whenever they would try to swim, they would have these panic attacks or anxiety, and not knowing where it came from. During Yoga Nidra, when the swimming pool came up, this person was able to heal a trauma from a swimming pool when they were young, and following the release of that trauma, that energy, they no longer experience the asthma and the breathing difficulty. So when the energy gets released, there's a chance that there might be a physical response in the body. And so you'll just want to support that person in the energy release so it doesn't interfere with the process, but so that they feel safe and secure to release it. And so we're using the platform of a relaxed body to let that energy move again, that stuck energy, allowing it to move and release. Okay, for the longer visualization, so here we're exploring the creative potential of the mindscape. It's like a conscious dream using inner creativity, and the possibilities here are really endless. Okay, you can use healing, so you can envision the body being steeped and saturated with the highest frequencies of light. the body recalibrating itself into the most optimal blueprint of health and wellness. You can perform psychic surgery, so you can go in and see specific parts of the inner anatomy being cut and mended and healed. It can be a random, imaginative story, like a bear juggling, riding a unicycle, juggling 10 cans of milkshakes. You can take people into something that they fear, because in a relaxed state, there's an opportunity to move through fears. You, for example, could take paraplegics dancing. You can take the last rapid visualization and grow it. You can take and expand on it so it becomes a little bit of a longer story and embody the inner quality of it. You can take people on a walk through nature, take them through the forest like we did at the beginning. You can place their hands on the trunk of the tree, smell the fresh air. You can walk through different elements and receive medicine from nature. You can time travel into the past or future, and you can help people explore thoughts. So you can have them watch their thought, watch these spontaneous vrittis that are arising and see how, because so many are identified with their thoughts. So you can pick a thought and see all the thoughts that are attracted to that thought and throw it out. You can pick a thought you've never ever thought before. You can pick an intuitive thought and a programmed thought. You can watch all the thoughts dissolving into nothing, and then you're in thoughtlessness. Because many only know themselves as they're thinking. These visualizations can be elaborative, creative, detailed script. They can be a journey, a scavenger hunt. You can script visualization into the sankalpa, finding the treasure of your sankalpa. They can be simple or no long visualization at all and take them directly into dharana, where they fixate their attention on, for example, one part of the body, like the third eye, the hollow of the throat, which represents the subconscious, or the heart, which represents the unconscious. And so the possibilities really are endless here. And I think you can see the incredible healing and growth benefits and opportunities of this portion of the practice. Next, we'll look at Anandamaya Kosha, unbounded awareness, and how we can bring our students there and leave them experiencing this state of timelessness, this formless state of freedom. So let's close here with one Om. Deep breath in to begin. Namaste.